thing. It's just us.
Episode 8, the Just Us Pod. How's everybody week?
Great.
Fantastic. It's pretty good.
Everybody had an all right week?
Yeah.
I am Fabian, to the right of me.
Mel.
To the right of her.
Ken.
To the right of him.
Just then.
Man. I've done pretty well to try to avoid generational curses. Because and the crazy part about it, I had an okay childhood. My childhood wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I had fucked up things going on as to why my childhood was good. I don't know if the statute of limitations are up. But my father sold drugs. My stepfather sold drugs. But I grew up in the 80s. I don't think nobody who was somebody wasn't selling drugs. So I think that the things that I saw, it was so normal to the point where once I got older, that's when I found out that, none of that was normal.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that I was going through.
But you think they did it because
It was all I knew.
was that and was it the only way? You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
for that quick money or whatever, however much it was.
Once you don't make it out hooping, once you don't make it out rapping, once you don't make it out on running punts back,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you went to in the 80s, late 70s. That's just what it was.
Yeah.
And just so happened, mine were some of the best in Houston at it. And they did well for themselves. My stepfather, he ended up getting 20 years. I think he did about 12 on it for dope. My father, he was fortunate enough to turn his dope money into other businesses later on in life. He never really got caught, but he was one of the big players. And my mother, I think, this is where it gets tricky because I think that's the kind of man that she always messed with. And I love my mother, but it kind of crippled her. I never seen my mama have like a real regular job.
Mm-hmm.
She worked here and there sparingly. I remember she worked at the school with us. She was a lunch lady. I do remember that vividly. But as far as like having a mom who got up every day and went to work to make things happen, I don't really remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a childhood memory of mine. So for me, breaking generational curses would mean not having my kids grow up and nothing to look forward to, like nothing to look to. Because I didn't realize life was about to get real until it got real.
Right.
If that makes sense. And I never wanted that for my kids because once it got real for me, it got real. And I moved with my father at a decent age. As soon as I turned 14, I moved with my father. Moving with my father wasn't what it was choked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. It was a better environment. I had more access to a lot of stuff. I was getting season passes to Astroworld, but it wasn't like it. I won't say that. It did change the trajectory of my life. It did.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like it changed it so much that I saw where I could build generation for my kids. Like I can build off of what I saw, what I learned. It taught me how to become stable in this world because in his home, there was one thing he was totally, if it didn't happen, then you weren't going to be there. You was going to finish school.
Mm-hmm.
That was his number one thing. Number one priority. He don't care if you play sports. He wasn't a dad that came to the games. You know what I'm saying? He didn't care if you were good at singing, rapping. He didn't give a damn.
Right.
You're going to finish school. That was it. Because I guess that was so big for him because he never did. And it was because he got into the streets. And my father was a hell of an athlete. Like, he still got banners on the wall at Yates. Shout out to Jack Yates, third ward. Yeah, I know what it is. And he's a legend in the hood. Like, you go to third ward, like, people, you say Flesh name, like, yeah, he's a legend in the hood. But for us, ain't no living behind that because you ain't finna grow up to be no dope boy.
Yeah.
You ain't finna grow up to have bricks. So for me, that was what generational curses was for me. Not so much as I seen my mama getting whooped on or I seen my daddy on a crack pipe. I was never that kind of a kid because I saw good things. But I didn't see the things that I now know that I want for my kids. I want them to see the world. You know, I want them to experience different genres. You know what I mean? Like I want my kids to see more. So I think that's where the generational curse thing comes in for me.
Yeah, I mean, because I think I wouldn't necessarily call it a curse though, bro. Right, because I think there's a difference, right? There's a gap, but for me, it's although what you're saying, they you know, the businesses that they had may not have been ideal. With it also still comes the business mindset, right? Like the structure, whether you're selling whatever versus you're running this business. I mean, to me, it's the same, right? I mean, so for you to take what you can from it, but not going all the way in with it, I think is an evolution of what you've been passed on, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly said. You know, because like I said, I learned so much from it, but I just didn't learn that.
Right.
Like I learned how to, because my dad, everything that I am, everything y'all see, like how clean I am as a man, wanting my home clean as a man. Because, you know, Mel, can you attest to that? I mean, it's men out here that just ain't on that. You know what I mean?
It definitely is.
So
It's men that don't take their shoes off when they walk straight in the house. And yeah, I can see that.
Tell me about it.
oh yeah, it's just a lot of things that I took from him and turned it into my own that I believe has molded me into the man that I've become today.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it is similar, but I wouldn't isolate it to only my parents. I would say my family as a whole, and that I learned from more of the what not to do.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like I took away, bro, I know that ain't right. You know, I need to do this. As far as like the work ethic, for sure it comes from my mom. My mom and my grandfather. But I just think that there's so much of a difference, bro. I mean, for me, it was more of the gap between my grandparents and myself, right? Because watching, I think I've talked about this before, but watching my grandfather and how he was showing us how to be a man versus watching what my dad was doing was just very different from each other, right? But it also can hurt you too,
Right.
because it's if you keep trying to strive to be like that, you'll realize like, man, you can't do that in this time, you know.
Different times. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I'm not going to go into the whole 50-50 thing in a relationship, right?
Save
But
it for another episode.
from my side, this is how my family was, right? When my parents were together, my mom was at home. My mom took care of the kids. You know, my mom didn't start working till after the divorce and you know, things like that. My grandma, bro, I can only remember my grandma working a couple years here and there, right? My grandpa always held it down. And to try to match that in this time is very difficult. It's just a lot different now. You know?
It's different just because of how people want to live. You literally have to be in the 1 percentile in order to live how you want to live, and your significant other is home, taking care of home.
Yeah.
And again, that's a story for a different topic, but to the point where you were saying about, you know, your mom not working, like I said, my mom chose the type of men that she wanted. So there's no knock to her because she didn't work because of the fast life.
Right.
She didn't work because of the type of men that she had. You know, they were bringing in money hand over fist. And that's with me and my brother's dad. Like, she had it. She was fine. She didn't have to go. So I to that point, that's why I'd probably more than likely only seen my mom work in short spurts.
Yeah.
For me, I look at it in a totally different light. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a male figure growing up within my household. You know, I would visit my dad here and there, but I also was too young to like pick up on the traits of a man at that time. I didn't. You know, I was too young to grasp that. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is, recently I was texting my mom and my grandma about something, and their response wasn't what I was expecting. They grew up in a generation where they wanted to, you find a good job, you stick with it, and you work. You know what I mean? And it's still people to this day that do that, and they have no issue with it. You know what I mean? And no knock to it. But I think I'm in a transitional period between generations where, yeah, I can find a good job, I can be very good at it, but at the end of the day, is it what makes me happy? Is that what I want to do for the rest of my life? You know what I mean? Also, I look at it from another standpoint is where I started working at 15, 16. Don't necessarily say I had to, or was it just a one at that time? But do I want that for my kids? Because that's a huge task for a kid to work. You know, it's going to have to be an evening shift because you have the school during the day for at least 8 hours a day. Don't try to be involved in any after-school program because that's going to be even longer, or you wake up earlier. So when you talk about breaking generational curses, that's what I want to do. I want to make it so that my kids don't have to sacrifice their own lives as kids in order to work. You know, if they want to be involved in a program, we're going to make a way for them to do that. Right. You know, they shouldn't have to miss out on things because parents. Of
the choices we made.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, whether it's we have to work long hours or you have to get up real early or get off real late. You know, they shouldn't be affected by that. Right. They should, you know, eat off the fruits of our labor because they didn't ask to be here. Right. But at the same time, as kids, they shouldn't have to, I can't do this today because I got to go home and watch my my siblings and things like that. So that's another aspect of, you know, breaking those generational curses. Yeah.
And to your point, I started working at an early age, and my father, he kind of like, he instilled that in us, like, hey, at a certain point, there was a cutoff. And he voiced that. He told us, like, bruh, y'all need to find something to do. Y'all need to find a job. Y'all need to find something to make some income. Mm-hmm. Like, he even told us one year, like, I ain't buying y'all school stuff no more. Yeah. Y'all young men. Mm-hmm. What y'all gonna do? So, with that, I get it in a sense because you want to teach young men how to become men. But I do think in totality, there's ways other than cutting your seed off financially. Right. I think there's a lot of different ways to push that narrative of teaching your sons, teaching your daughters, teaching your kids how to become financially stable. Another part to the generational curse thing is having kids young. I had a kid young. My dad had kids young. My mom had kids young. And I didn't realize how much, because you were a kid while your mom was young with kids. So you don't realize what's going on while you're young and you're a kid. You just going as she's going. Yeah. You're doing what she's teaching you or what he's teaching you. So when you have these kids young, you don't realize how hard that is. So I give that to them.
Yeah, every now and then you sit there and you're like, man, my mom was this age
it's crazy.
When I was doing this, and this. And it's like, oh, man.
That's crazy. Whew, right? Is like literally my mom, I had my daughter, my mom was in her 30s. Mm-hmm. She was a like imagine you right now.
Ain't no way.
You feel me? Like imagine your daughter come home. We all got daughters of that age who can come home and tell us.
You're right.
You feel me? Like imagine coming home telling your daughter telling you, hey dad, you gonna be whoa. Yeah. Like, nah, like that. So I take all of that into account now but I didn't, of course, because there was no understanding of what was actually going on. So I take my hat off, my shirt to my parents for what they were able to do with us. But still, I feel like if they had the mindset that we have, then it would be different. Then maybe I wouldn't have had a child when I was in the 12th grade. Maybe one of us wouldn't have our kids when we were young like that if we had these conversations and they set us down and let us know about these things. You know what I mean? I never had the birds and the bees talk.
Yeah, me either.
I never had that talk.
I kind of had a birds and the bees talk, but I've never really had the thoughts of even, my parents never had to worry about me coming home saying none of that. But I think one of the main reasons why I've never had they've never even thought, they ask me now, am I going to have kids? But speaking on the fact that all of y'all have daughters, that's the one thing that I think about all the time from my childhood. I didn't have a bad childhood. I grew up in basically a 2-parent, grandparent household, and I got to see good things all the time. And they took care of their kids, kids, and all of that. But being a little girl to now, the one thing that if I do have a daughter, I wouldn't want her to feel like she has to be prepared for all the harshness in the world.
Right.
I want to make her aware, but it's hard being getting a talk when you are, let's say, a freshman or not even in high school yet, and they're just, things are so different for little girls than they are little boys.
Right.
You have to make sure that you don't depend on anybody, and they push you to get a job. I got a job when I was 15, and it was always just pushing the fact that, hey, you're a woman, basically. You're a female. So this is what's going to happen, and this is how things really work. Yeah. And even letting me know, I kind of had the birds and the bees talk, but my grandparents' way of doing it was more so hey, you don't want to have no kids because, the man, he just going to leave you probably.
Yeah, that's the outlook on it.
And, you don't really know how the world works at that age. So just hearing it all the time, it just, now being an adult, it's made me overly independent. It's made it to where it's hard for me to depend on anybody that comes into my life or to trust that I can kind of take a back seat to things. Yeah. And I don't want that for my child. I want her to understand that is sometimes what happens, but there are other things to look forward to. There are other things. You can be a hard worker, but you can also enjoy the soft things in life, I guess, with being a woman instead of focusing so much on what's going to happen.
I think our generation is kind of bridging the gap of understanding that it is okay to be different, to change things, right? When talking to, my grandma, things were, for her, it was, hey, this is what it is, and there is no X, Y, and Z. If you're not a virgin when you get married, you don't have on a white dress, that type of stuff, right? And for us, it's. I think we have started to understand that, yes, there are a lot of great things morally and great ethics that they have passed on to us, but we can make it better. And for us, I think it's important for the next generation to understand, hey, we're trying to fine tune this, but we ain't gonna get it right either. Right. And every generation that comes next is gonna have to continue to fine tune. And who knows? Maybe it just starts to repeat back into how our grandparents grew up, right? But another thing would be, for us, I think we're just so opinionated that we question, some of the bull, right? And they, at times, our elders may feel like there's a sense of entitlement, right? And that we're supposed to be the ones to do this and this. But at least for me, I feel like, this is more of a two-way street. At this point in my life, we're both adults. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a kid. So the relationship that we grow and build or continue is two-sided, right? There's a give and take here. There's a huge transaction. So without that, I mean, I ain't gonna be the one to just sit here and be like, oh, because you're an elder, I'm supposed to do this, this, and this. Nah, I don't feel like that's the case. You know, and that goes for anybody, right? I mean, whether it's my parents, you know, my brothers, my grandparents, my uncles, aunts, everybody. I just feel like with them, it was, if we're blood, we're supposed to have this.
Right.
For me, I just feel like my definition of family is way different from theirs. Mm-hmm. What they consider family is more, okay, you're a relative for sure.
For sure.
But, you know, family to me over these last couple of years has been defined by the people in my circle. Right. Whether it's inner circle, outer circle, how far that circle goes, whatever. But I just feel like that's a huge difference for all of us.
As it should. Yeah. As it should. And, man, growing up, I didn't have a relationship with my father's dad. Barely knew him. Mm-hmm. I had somewhat of a relationship with my mother's dad, Army veteran, very strict. Lived with them for a short period of time when my mother was going through something. So I learned from him. My mother's mother, vague relationship. I know her. We don't have like a grandma-grandson relationship, but my father's mother, love her to death. Love her to death. That's my baby. Do I talk to her as I should? I don't.
Yeah.
Should I? I should. Now, she was the one that the kids need something, call my daddy, what they need. We with her. She taking us to church every Sunday. She was that grandma. I always had all of the grandkids. Love her to death. Wouldn't trade her for the world. Something happened to her today or tomorrow, I'll be broken. And I'm saying all this to say that there are things that we went through and that we saw as a kid from every level, like you said, from every parent, every grandparent, that was just so different. My grandmother, who I'm speaking about, my father's mother, her husband, if you see this, she be watching it too. If you see this, don't show Mrs. Sterling this. That's her second husband. He doesn't see his paycheck. Mm-hmm. He goes to work, drives trucks, the money comes to her. She take care of everything. My daddy, male gigolo. He was out here in them streets. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I got both parts of that. Because I will let a woman what you make that face for? Look, you gotta hear me out. All right. I will let a woman at certain points in my life, I will let her control certain aspects in my life financially because I know me.
Right.
I have my father in me where I don't care what's going on. I'm going to go out here and buy what I want. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to go where I want. I have that in me from him, and I know that because I saw him do it. My daddy rarely wore shoes twice. My daddy rarely wore clothes twice. Every day I seen him get up and be fresh every day, bro. That's where I get it from. I know this. Where on the other hand, my grandmother, very simple lifestyle, bought a home, husband worked every day. And I was between the two once I moved with him because she more so took care of us because he was in the nightlife. He was still in the streets. So I saw how to be a man and take care of a household because of her and because of her husband. They didn't know. They probably see what I'm doing now and like, that boy became something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't know that I was always the oddball out, just to be perfectly honest with y'all.
You and me both.
You know what I'm saying? I was always the oddball out. Now they look like, damn, we didn't know, but makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I said all that to say is there is a huge disconnect between us and them. And I think that disconnect, one part of that disconnect comes because they never talked to us.
Right.
They never asked us how we felt.
When you're saying they, are you considering your grandparents or your parents?
Yes, them too. I just told you my grandparents, she didn't know I was taking what I saw from her and her husband and how she treated us and my brothers and my cousins.
The reason I ask is, let me ask you this. Do your parents and your grandparents, are they like that?
Oh, yeah.
Mine are too. Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah, my dad and his mother, Boy,
Yeah, my mom and my grandma talk every day.
Yeah, and bro, so much so my dad bought a house across the street from my grandmother. Yeah, that they one of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like my dad, he's since bought another house.
Ain't no way I'm staying anywhere close to my mom.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like he literally bought a house, but I think the disconnect. They didn't talk to us. They didn't know how we were feeling. They didn't know things that we were going through because children go through things.
Right.
And to Mel's point about her grandparents making her get a job, like I've had the conversation about my daughter. No, my daughter's not working. She's not working until she's ready. It's not happening. And that disconnect comes, and this is her mom, her bonus mom. This is her grandma. Oh, she needs to learn responsibility. Her responsibility is doing what Layla likes to do, making sure she finishes school. If that's what she wants to do, I pray that's what she wants to do. And whatever makes Layla happy. You're not my sons too. It just so happens that my oldest son loves school. But he loves. I wanted him to play football because he's so smart. He's good at it because he's smart, not because of physical attributes. But my son loves theater. Okay, you love theater, son? Let's see what summer classes. But I know this because I talk to my kids. And I ask them things, and my kids are comfortable enough to come to me and say that they enjoy these type of things. And I think the disconnect, one, for me, with that generation and us, we didn't talk. They didn't care about our feelings. They didn't care about what we were going through. They didn't care that we'd like to do this. It was, you're going to do this. This is the way that you're going to do it. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences behind it. Yeah. Right? So I make sure in my household there's an open dialogue.
I definitely agree with that. Like, it was like that with my grandparents. Like, it was very, like, I took a lot from them, especially, like, my grandma, when it comes to, like, cleanliness is next to godliness. Just the way you should treat, like, someone you are with in a relationship, just how to make it easier. But that's not to say that I agree with the way they chose to raise me as a whole, because they really didn't talk to me. Now, my dad, though, he was more of an open door policy type of parent. So anything that I got into or was thinking about getting into, I would go to him first, and he never made me feel like I couldn't talk to him. So now I'm closer to my dad than my mom, but it's really only because he's always been a great communicator. Right. He could have, like, even in past childhood with him, like, messing up or making a mistake, he will confront, like, have that conversation and confront whatever he didn't do, instead of, like, kind of sweeping under the rug. My mom is more of a sweeping under the rug, or she just got amnesia and she don't remember all of a sudden. So
they got that bad.
Yeah, they do.
They got that bad. They don't remember nothing they did bad.
Right. And I was already, like, as a kid, I was already an extreme loner. Like,
those are the ones who you really need to talk to.
Right. And now, and, like, I was still the oddball, though, but I turned out to be, like, the most well-off one. But I was real secluded. I've never really been, like, a person to just, even if they probably would have talked to me, I've never just been a super vulnerable person. Even as a kid, I would probably have just closed myself off even more. So I can say now as an adult, you know, maybe if they would have talked to me, things would have been different. But you have to start that very early on. You have to establish that relationship. And I also think everything that happens from a child, it affects you and it keeps carrying on until you're an adult. It just manifests in different ways.
Yeah, I agree.
Same here. We're very open with the kids. The oldest being a girl, so, you know, I'm very close with her. But when it comes to certain things, because one, technically she's not my child, and also she's a girl, so, you know, women things, she goes to her mom. Right. So, but other than that, very close. They can come tell us, like, literally anything, you know. And like you said, we didn't talk to them, or they didn't talk to us. So it was,
and they didn't have a door open for us.
It wasn't, and it's also because I've also heard my parents say my grandmother wasn't affectionate.
Yeah,
and I think that's common as well.
Wasn't either.
And I think it all comes from the generation before them,
right? Because
they were so busy, you know, watching their backs and terrible things happening to them, you know, because of the era they grew up in. Right. So it's a constant. It's like a terrible cycle was beginning to form. But that's where we come in and we start to change that.
Start to break these things.
Exactly. Like I love on all the kids.
Me too.
Give them hugs, kisses, tell them I love them all the time. Just like randomly throughout the day, I just tell them I love you and things like that.
Money-wise, I don't really feel like that would be why I'm telling them to work. It would be more of, okay, you want to start, getting into this habit, understanding how this world works, then I'd be okay with that, right? But I think for me, I would have to dig into understanding what is the driver, right? And if it is the money, what is that money that you're trying to get for, right? But yeah, it's to me, everybody's just different, man. Everybody's so different. When I look at the way me and my brothers were raised, my mom did what she could. She tried to maintain this structure, but you look at me and my two brothers, we're completely different. Like you see it. We're just three different people altogether.
I totally agree, bro. I have three myself, and Kyrie may look like Jahari. Jahari may look like Layla. Three totally different personalities. Three totally. So for me to go to them and say, each one of you are going to do this, this, and this, and you're going to do it this way, this way, this way, I'd be failing them.
Yeah.
I would literally be failing my kids, bro.
But you know where I learned this from? Work.
Yeah.
Understanding that every employee is not the same.
Yeah. Like, there's no way that I'm going to put my kids through that. I can't stomach it. And like to your point, if Layla comes and she says, Dad, I want to work, then yeah, I'll say, okay, what are you working for?
Yeah.
Because if it's a quick fix, then do something for me.
Yeah.
Here's what you can do to get that money that you want. But if it's something of substance that you're trying to work towards, then yeah, let's talk about you getting a job. But as far as them just coming right out in the 10th and 11th grade saying, hey, I want to go to work just because I want to have a job and get some money. No, we need to talk about that because there's a lot of other things and goals that you can be looking to other than trying to make $200 every week.
Yeah, because imagine, like you were saying, right? One of them enjoys theater.
Right.
Imagine they start getting bookings and work comes right then and there, and then you have to say, all right, you're going to have to drop out if you want to continue to work.
Right.
Right? Like things like that, like I completely understand.
Right.
Today,
Yeah.
Today I understand those things.
Yeah.
Back then maybe it wasn't so, if you didn't have an education, you were just going to be working for the rest of your life. And I don't really feel like
and one
you can
thing,
say that today.
One thing that I do in my household is I allow for them to challenge me. And when I say that, I allow them, when we're having a conversation and I'm saying, hey, why didn't you or you need to, I'll allow them to, well, Dad, I did this, this, and this, and then I was going to get to that. I hear them out. Like, I listen to them. I don't, well, no, you need to shut the hell up and do what I told you to do. No, bro.
You
know what I'm saying?
I definitely agree with that. And that brings me back to the original point that I was going to make. We didn't get that opportunity to say anything. And if you tried to,
they'll pick that candle that's lit right there.
The closest thing to you, that it was coming to fly at you or you was getting hit with it. So, and also, I don't want to make it seem like we just
soft
that or like we just dissing the way that we were raised.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
It's not
because
that.
we wouldn't be the people that we wouldn't be the people that we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to say, like, they loved us. It's just that their way of showing it is different from the way we show it now.
Exactly.
Because just like you saying, you're going to support your son whether he want to play basketball, football, be in theater. We didn't always have that options.
Nope.
After we got to a certain age, you want to play football? Go ahead. I'll pick you up when practice over. I'll pick you up when the game over.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Or walk home. We was that close.
Or walk home.
Yeah.
I ain't even know.
Bro, I was never in a school play because I just didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the difference. We're here to support ours no matter what they want to do.
Is.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was my original point. Like, we didn't have the option to talk back. So,
and the reason I keep that policy open, and that door open for them to be opinionated about whatever we're having a conversation about, whether it's why isn't your room clean, and I told you to have that clean by a certain point, and because power of words mean a lot, especially when you're spending. Go ahead.
Before you go that far, Only thing I dislike with when you give them the option to talk, you ask them. You can ask them in a calm tone.
Oh yeah.
But if you tell me you don't know,
get
out my face.
No, that's rules and regulations.
But at the same time,
stupid to
like
me.
the as at their age, like they're still understanding how to express that.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
It does get annoying. Don't get me wrong. Like, it gets really annoying, but it's very hard sometimes. And like with me, for example, I was willing to take the slap.
Right.
If the worst you can do is slap me and I can get what I needed to get off, I'll take the slap.
Yeah,
but
see, I think Ken to that point. I'm sorry, Mel. I think Ken to that point. I think it's because they be triggered sometimes. Like if I say this, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, because we're still a work in progress.
Right.
We're not sitting up here saying that we don't discipline our kids. We're not sitting here saying that we fall short sometimes of the things that we may say to them, and how because we still fight things daily too that we're trying to grow through.
I think we had a perfect balance between that where we come from and what they call now is it soft parenting.
Soft parenting, yeah,
that's a bunch of malarkey.
And we're not being soft; we're just being different. We're being more open. We're trying to change these things that we went through and how we went through them, and that's it. But like I was saying, the power of words and pouring into your children, I think is super, super important. And that's with anything, right?
What do you mean?
The way you say things, how you say things. Oh, I want to start this podcast. No, I'm going to start this podcast. Oh, I want to save $10,000 this year. No, I'm going to save $10,000 this year. You have to be very, very intentional about everything that you say, because that's going to determine if you're going to get up off your ass and actually get this done. Oh, I want to be the OM, not the supervisor this year. No, I'm going to be an OM this year. Maybe not in this space or this company. I'm going to be an OM this year. Oh, this podcast is going to have 1 million views through all social media this year. It's going to be that.
Right.
So I wholeheartedly believe that the power of words, this relationship is going to change for the better this year.
Yeah, manifestation.
Yeah, bro. Like, you have to be powerful in the words that you speak. And I'm just now learning this. Like I told y'all before.
Do you feel like the words or the words come first or the work comes first?
The words, because that's how it's like planning.
To me, neither.
Setting your plan.
Me neither. The thought for me comes first. What do you want to do? What are you thinking about doing? Then say it. Say what you're gonna do, and then you put that work in place. That's me. I don't know how you guys go. Like I told y'all before we started this podcast, I pray over our words to choose them wisely and how we speak before every podcast.
Right.
We've done 8 episodes. This is my first time telling y'all that.
Oh, 100 subscribers, by the way.
Yeah,
we hit 100 subscribers,
hit
man.
Hit that clapping button.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
I forgot.
Yeah, you know what's going on.
We should have said that at the top. 100 subscribers, 103. 103 subscribers as of today, man. I appreciate y'all.
Big Deacon church clap.
It's going to be 1,000 by the end of this year.
Amen.
You know what's going on. Through all platforms. We going up.
No, we going.
We going. But, and to that point, whatever you want in life, whatever you desire, be powerful when speaking it. Be powerful. And to the other side, be careful what you're speaking. Because you call out from work, don't be saying your grandma died and you can't come in. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you feel what I'm saying? Don't be saying, hey, my kid's sick. Don't say your kid's sick and you can't go to work, bro.
Bro, that's two things like I don't mess with.
Don't mess with, bro. I'm telling you. And people probably don't realize it, but it's powerful.
See, and that's why if you're going to call into work, just download Canva and make you an obituary with somebody else.
See what I'm saying?
Don't even worry about that.
Now you putting that power on another family.
But now you can just, what is it, chat GP or whatever, chat that AI, you could just put, like, call in to work, and they're going to give you a whole excuse on what to say on how to call in.
Oh, let me put this in my notes. What you said? But being powerful, the power of words and being intentional about those words.
No, I agree because, like, I want to say like you said, it comes from a thought first, or in other instances, some people may have a dream of theirs, you know, or a goal. It's all the same thing, you know. One thing I've been not, I want to say struggling with, but it comes to mind every day is what I want to pursue as for a career. And like you said, you speak into it and say what you're going to do. And at the start of this year, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You know, I have my plan in place. I have a time frame for how I want things to go and where I want to be, starting a program, this and that, to get to that next level. So, yeah, you have to be very intentional. And amongst other goals that I have. So, I definitely agree.
Being intentional.
I don't know. I'm struggling to understand. Well, I'm struggling to try to figure out how to express what I'm thinking right now, because I don't want to make it sound crazy either. But the general idea of it is that I just feel like the work outweighs whatever you say want. Like the work always outweighs it. For example, my sobriety, right? Bro, if I go a week saying I don't want to drink, it doesn't make it any easier.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? But me looking at alcohol, seeing people, you know, intake alcohol, like to me, that is what is pushing what I would call necessity, right, of being sober. I mean, but maybe it's just the way that I'm thinking of it is very generic, and that's why I feel like, yeah, the work is what is more important to me. I don't know. I'm trying to like work it out on what I'm trying to express, but that's just the best way that I can put it right now.
The work is just as important. They're all of some type of importance. Like you can't downplay one, because you have to have the thought in order to do the work. You have to do the work in order for it to come into fruition, whatever it is that you're desiring to do or not to do. So, yeah, they go hand in hand. I don't think one
what
is
I'll
more
say
important.
is the power of your words is no different than having faith.
Yeah.
That is true.
The power of your words is no different than having faith. And we talked about this on the podcast before.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably why I feel like this. Yeah.
Faith without work is dead. You have to work. Just be, and that's where the intentional part comes in for me. You have to be intentional about what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that faith, having the faith that what you're saying is going to come to fruition, is just that. And you just have to be intentional. The intentional part is the work.
And just
it's the
like
same
you
thing.
said with your sobriety, I go back to saying, like I told y'all, you know, I want to give up sweets. You know, I did very good. I this weekend, I ain't gonna hold you. It's because I wanted it this weekend.
Them Starburst sweet.
No, I ain't had no Starburst. I ain't had no candy. I had a Cinnabon yesterday, but I told everybody.
Yeah, he was like, I'm treating myself.
Yeah, I had some orange Fanta earlier, some of it, and I had a McDonald's Sprite yesterday. But other than that,
hey, boy, don't go down.
I'm back straight tomorrow.
I was about to say that.
Because when I get back to work, they ain't got nothing healthy. Man, that place is terrible as far as trying to be healthy.
That's 2 sodas and a Cinnabon?
Yeah, so I'm done. You see, I got me a bottle of water now.
Hey, you had a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, I did. By those standards, I did.
Mel, power of words, intentional?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Only because I'm intentional with my words, and I do have faith in a lot of things, and I also, you know, on occasion might put in a little bit of work. But I don't know. I'm one of those people where I might be saying something, but it depends on if I really believe it. And I teeter-tot in between. It depends on what mood I'm in. So I don't know.
You know, I mean, you don't have anything that you believe you should speak power to in order for it to manifest?
Yeah, I do.
What do you speak power to, if anything?
So I got leaky eyes today, and I am.
But so you trying to be very, very.
I am.
Okay.
I'm cool on that.
Okay.
But what I would say is, I don't know. Like I use mixed feelings because I practice that a lot, and I feel like sometimes I do put the work into things, and I think maybe it's maybe I'm not putting enough focus on the things I really want. And all the things that I do speak highly of, they do happen in my favor. It's just it's the other things that don't. So I don't know. It just depends. So yeah, I gotta leave it on mixed feelings. That's it. That's it for me.
It's mixed up. So is it relationship wise that you're having trouble with it coming to fruition? Like what is it?
Okay, so I've said this before. I don't think I want a relationship.
Okay.
But I think like when I'm real intentional financially, money wise, it literally comes to me like nothing. I could close my eyes right now and I smell a message on LinkedIn. So it is so easy for me to I'm serious. It's so easy for me to reach a financial goal. Okay. And it's always been like that pretty much. Like I am a person where I will go and look at something or a place I want to live or whatever, and how much ever it is. It's been this way like the last 3 years of my life, to where I'll go look at an area or something and I might not be able to afford it then, but I literally imagine myself like I'm actively living there. I'm actively in that situation, and it literally happens. It just comes. But other things like relationships or meeting people or anything like emotional vulnerability type times, that's where I'm falling short every time. I don't know why. And I don't even really think as much I can do on my part anymore. I think I don't really want to put power in, like, I don't want to be intentional with it anymore. I think I just want it to come to me. I feel like maybe I feel that way because I think I've put a little bit too much effort into it.
And you've been with Ashley for 5 years?
Yeah.
You went through a couple of relationships before y'all found each other. Mm-hmm. Did past trauma from those situations affect you guys in any way on your part or her part?
I'm going to speak on my behalf.
Okay.
Because that might be a little too personal.
Smart, man.
On her behalf.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as me, I'm going to be honest, not really. Okay. Because I understand, like, people are different. You know, whether the people in the past, their intentions were right or wrong, whatever, however I may feel about them people, you know, that has nothing to do with her. You know what I mean? So it didn't. She also made me feel like she really liked me for who I was. And that was most important as well. You know, it made me feel comfortable. So, and I think that's where a lot of people, they fall short in that area, because if they are bringing something from the past, the person that they're talking to, they don't make them feel comfortable within in that exchange or whatever it may be. So, but that's not the new person's fault. Right. You know, and also going into dating her, you know, I was single for however long it was, and, you know, I was doing stuff I shouldn't have did. So whatever baggage I could have brought with me, it was gone. Yeah.
And I don't think people consider like how difficult it is, like being an actual like single person with no bad intent when you go to date somebody. Yeah. Because it's really hard to like get people to like really understand and accept that you like want to be around them just because you want to be around them. Right. Like you're interested in them just to be interested in them. There's nothing else that's attached to it. There's like, you don't have any bad intentions. And it's like damn near trying to like literally sell a dream.
And that's because people be having like their own shit.
And because she said that, I will say this. She did tell me once, because I'm not confrontational. You know, I don't want to argue or nothing. When we first started dating, she used to think like something was wrong. Like this isn't right. Like why we not fighting? Yeah. You know what I mean? But
past traumas from her.
Past traumas from her and what she went through. But and other than that.
But do you think that's only on her?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think that you and I'm not, when I say argument, I don't mean like screaming, hollering, but a disagreement in general, right?
No,
like,
we have those, but I will say that too then. And I guess I did have my own, because I did, you know, the last one was bad. It used to get bad, like, you know what I mean? So
did it make you be very passive in the next? or nonchalant. Let's say
no, because I've always been nonchalant. Always been nonchalant.
It's annoying sometimes.
But the fighting thing, I can say that because the arguments, I don't want to do that. I'm naturally like nonchalant and I guess you can say passive. I don't like confrontation at all because I know I have a bad temper, right? So and I don't like that showing that side of me. So you're right. That I can say that is a past trauma of mine, I guess, from a prior relationship.
And to me, that's what is important in going into the relationship, right? Is we all have our own traumas, right? There's nobody that I can say is going into it trauma free. There's something there, whether it's big, small, whatever it is. There's something there, and understanding that, okay, I'm fucked up. This person that I'm about to be with is probably just as fucked up as I am. But am I willing to put the work in to try to make this work and understand our shortcomings, our temper, our way of thinking? Everybody who knows me knows that I like to talk. You know what I'm saying? I like to engage in the conversation. And my wife, she's like, you're talking too much. Strip it down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you start understanding each other like that, I mean, I'm not going to say I just stopped talking. Don't get me wrong. But it helps you understand your partner at that point. So you have to think of that same thing when you're talking about, all right, is there trust issues? Is there insecurities? Is there this? Is there that? And understand that sometimes it ain't their fault. This is something that they hold on their back all the time, but it is not always their fault of why they're dealing with that trauma. Now, there is some self-inflicted trauma sometimes where it's like, you got to eat what you've done in the past. Cool. But to make a relationship work, you definitely have to understand, like, hey, we're both going to have some ups and downs, and I'm going to be here to go through it with you. Just be there for me when I go through it too, right? But it's tough. It's tough.
To that point to where it's a lot of self-inflicted, that's me.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. That's who Fav is. Like I'm a self-inflicted wound ass man, bro. Like that's just, and I don't think that I'm incapable of being who a woman wants as a man in its totality, meaning the lover, the compassionate one, the gift giver,
the security,
all. I'm not incapable of these things, but my mind just be like, go out here and just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I know, bro. I'm still figuring me out. I'm man enough to say this. I've said this to my partner. Like, I'm man enough to say I'm still figuring me out, and I'm changing. I'm evolving every day. But I think that's another part of saying I have these traumas now. Those past traumas, not so much. I don't care about anything in my past like that. But I do think something from my past is holding me back,
right, in
some form.
Yeah, and that also is a big part of it. Is you yourself have to understand your traumas. Yeah. Because if you don't understand your traumas, you don't understand how you affect other people.
Exactly.
Because of what you deal with inside.
Exactly. And I'm a person who deals with a lot inside when it comes to just the relationship. Because I'm big on telling anyone who I'm having a conversation with this about, no one has done me anything to the point where I have to say, I'm done with this person, or I don't want to be with this person. People normally don't do that to me because I try to be the best version of Fabian. Version.
Go ahead.
I try to be the best version.
I can't.
I try to be the best version of Fabian. And I think this is my problem.
It's your interpretation of being the best, though.
Exactly, for that person.
Yeah.
Like, I'll try to, just say me and Mel was dating, I'll try to be the best Fabian who Mel thinks she wants from Fabian. I'll try to be that person to her. But it ain't real. You know what I'm saying? So when it slips out that I'm out of character, trying to be who Mel needs me to be, now I look like a messed up person. Or if I'm doing it for my partner or my significant other, I'm in character because I just don't know who Favion wants to be in that role right now. And I think that has to do with a lot of us. Like, who do we want to be in these positions, in these roles? And I just think a lot of us are unsettled with that question, and I think that's why we aren't 100% fulfilling for our partner.
But I also think that it has to be who you want to be, and your partner has to want who you see. Like if there's the model that which you're trying to get to, your partner has to see that model the same way.
Right. Of course, I get it, but
maybe I don't know.
But if your partner, you can't be who your partner wants you to be. Now, let me break that down why I said it like that. You can, again, get into character and show her characteristics of the things that she wants. But you can't be that 100% if you're not that.
That's the key part. If you're not that already, if you'll never be that, then I agree.
That is just not who you are, or that's instilled in you, that's your morals, that's your character, then who she is or who you are for her or him, you just not going to be that.
And I agree with you.
I agree. And that is why you try to find somebody that's for you.
Yep. Gotta find your person.
You find somebody. Like my past relationship, I tried, like you said, to be somebody they wanted me to be. I was like what y'all see in public and what y'all get to see, I wasn't always able to be that. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to talk like I talk on social media because I feel like I was judged. Yeah. Even to the point of, you should dress a certain way. It's out for somebody that was like 25 or 24, 25, you should dress grown man. Like,
that's crazy.
And I was like,
grown man.
What is dressing grown man?
Exactly. Like, especially for our culture like that. You don't have to do that. And I'm not even in a corporate setting like that. You know what I mean? I can see if I was, going to business meetings all the time, trying to wear that cargo pants and Jordans to a business meeting, then she would have had an argument. But I thought back on it, in time, like, no, that we just weren't compatible. And that's why we used to always
bump heads.
Yeah.
Used to always
so now I'm with somebody that whatever I want to do, damn near. Like, you know what I mean? As long as it's respectful to her in a relationship. So, that to touch on, you can't be what somebody else wants you to be if you're not ready to, or if you're just not that person.
And one more point to that, I'm not saying that you can't grow into what someone can like for a lifetime. I'm not saying that. That's very possible. I'm pretty sure there's thousands of stories out there where someone has grown into the person that they wanted all this time and wanted to love and wanted to be. I'm not saying it's impossible. What I'm saying is it's impossible if that's just not instilled in you. Yeah. Like there isn't a chromosome that says Faith can be a lover.
Right.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying if you don't have a vein in you that says you send roses just because it's Tuesday, you're never going to send roses just because it's Tuesday.
I can't wait to meet somebody to send roses just because it's Tuesday.
Right. I get it. Everyone feels like it.
Yeah, you
stand on it. Show them who you are so that they know this is the real you. And if they can deal with it, they'll stay and be there.
I don't know.
And if they can't,
you can't sacrifice your happiness.
No, that's not what I was going to say. That's not what I was going to go down. I was going to say sometimes
before you continue, I'm not saying don't adjust.
No, that's not what I'm getting at. I think that sometimes you need that person to help you through it.
And everybody ain't going to do that.
You see what I'm saying? Like for me, for example, like I feel like, let me say emotionally, right? Emotionally, my wife gives me the push to maintain that balance, right? Whether, we might not talk about everything, but at the same time, it's like, we're not going to go into things super emotional either. Like, hey, tighten it up, let's talk. You know what I mean? So I think that it's tricky. There's no right or wrong answer to this, right? Or there's no blueprint to this, but in some cases, I feel like the partner that you're with, whether they know it or not, help you become the person that you should have been.
Right.
And they bring out the best in you.
Of course.
Sure.
And when we're saying compatible, right, let's not get it misconstrued, because compatible can be total opposites. If that makes sense. Let me make that make sense for you. Just because you and Ashley like pink doesn't mean y'all going to be good in a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
But if you love blue and she loves pink, but y'all can mix that shit and turn it to whatever color, and it makes sense for that relationship, that's compatible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that it always matches. It means that if it's indifferent, can we make it match? Can we make it work?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to
and
be
that's
willing.
literally where my shortcomings. It don't ever be making it.
That's why I say
never, no.
be who you are, be it in its true self, and when that person finds you or you find that person, hey, it's not going to be anything that can separate y'all from whatever's going on.
And you can't dumb yourself down either.
You can't.
And
You can't dumb yourself down. Like if you're a funny person, don't like hold back being you because they're a tight ass.
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, if you smart, don't dumb yourself down because this person's an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't do that.
I think that you also have to understand that who you want to be may not always be who you should be.
Yeah, that's another part to it too as well. This has been episode 8 of the Just Us Pod. See y'all next time.
It's just us.
100 subscribers. Keep going.
Motto, remember that? Random, huh?
Your motherfucking ass better talk today.
He be talking.
I do. I just don't talk a whole lot.
Well, the other thing, though, is stop letting us cut you off.
What the fuck
'Cause
you
I
mean?
think,
Stop
like,
letting
we-
you-
'cause,
motherfuckers
like,
just
on-
be like,
on last
"Bitch,
episode-
don't cut me off when I'm talking.
Yeah.
No, how about y'all just
Some-
wait for a motherfucker to finish?
Because all three of us cut him off on the last episode.
Because one,
All the
you
time.
talk too fucking slow.
I do talk
Two,
slow.
I mean, like she said, I mean,
Every time a nigga got to pay bills, he going through it. Every time the bills come up, the nigga got some
no
shit
lie.
going on.
that ain't a lie.
Bills
I
be
mean,
whooping people's
honestly,
Nah, they do. I'm not saying. I'm not making a joke like it. Don't be beating people ass.
ass.
If it were
Bees be
me-
beating on bills. All right, so a couple weeks ago, I brought up generational curses as something we should talk about because of something that was happening at home, and it made a lot of sense for me for it to be a topic. That's how we talked about it. That's how we get most
Is
of
that a
our.
nigga climbing up this balcony like Spider-Man?
All right.
Hey, I didn't want to turn around.